Hi everyone, welcome to Recruitment MasterMinds, our weekly get-together. And today, what I wanted to do is focus in on a problem that I've heard from a few of you. Just sorry, I was distracted. A problem that I've heard from a few of you about deals going down and at the final hour. So the kind of thing like we've worked on an assignment or we've worked on a brief with a client. We've submitted candidates, maybe it's gone through first interview, second interview, and at some stage during that process, before an offer is made or even after an offer is made, the deal is going down. And whether that's happening to you, whether that's happening to... sorry, I've just seen what you've written. What is that? Hello, Sutwit T hashtag. Hello, even. Good. Okay. So I hope you haven't been drinking at lunchtime. So... I will be serious. Let me try and get on with this. Right, okay, so in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that chat section away from me for a second because I'm... Adrienne, I can see that you're in the room as well. Hey, Adrienne. Hey, Thomas. How you doing? So look, the serious subject is I've heard from you that deals are going down, whether that's for you, whether it's for your consultants. It's not good, all right? You could be working 4, 6, sometimes 8 weeks on an assignment, and then all of a sudden... the thing goes, takes a swan dive, and great if you're retained, where you're guaranteed a certain payment. But if you are on a contingency basis, I know the majority of us are, then that's no good. Rent still needs to be paid, staff need to be paid, VAT still needs to be paid. So all of these, local taxes, whatever it is, they all need to be paid, and you haven't got the revenues from your activities. So that's no good for anybody. So look, I really wanted to do this, and I don't know how to say this to you. It's almost like this is foundation type training. Okay, this is the type of training that I would do with your consultants. This is the type of training that I do with business owners that are running their own businesses. But this is the foundation stuff, and the reason why I call it the foundation stuff is the foundation of every placement that we make is based on the job brief that we take, the job order, the job brief, client requirement, whatever you want to call it. The foundation for every successful placement is built on that job brief that you take. And my view is that you start controlling or taking control of a client from the very first conversation that you have. Okay, your consultants will start controlling that client from the very first conversation that they have, generally when you start to take a job brief. Now, one of the biggest reasons for failure in recruitment, and I don't just mean failure, I don't know, generally, I mean failure in terms of placements going down. One of the biggest reasons placements go down is the job brief, and it's incomplete, or we haven't asked questions, and then we're having to go back to the client, all of those different things. So I really want this for you. And look, final things. It's a source of information for you. Okay, so if you're a solo recruiter, it's a source of information obviously for you. It's a checklist to confirm back to your client. It's a summary document. Here's our understanding of it. Is there anything you'd like to add to this? Is there anything that I'm mistaken on? So again, these are the sorts of questions that you want to be asking yourself, you want to be asking your consultants. What else? It's a basis for telephone interviews or screening interviews or face-to-face interviews with your candidates. So, it's not you making the information up on the fly. This is straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the client. And so you'll be using this same information to brief your candidates and clients. It's a timetable for completion. So a good job brief is going to have, a plan. It will be, right, we've taken the brief now. This is when we should be doing the sourcing for that. This is when we should be doing the presentation of first interviews. This is when we should be doing the, first interviews, second interviews, feedback. Offer acceptance, start. It's a project plan. It's a project plan with milestones. What else? And it's a firm foundation in which to build your relationship with the client as well. I've said this before, either on these calls or in previous training sessions, that we are not judged by the products or services that we deliver. We're judged by the questions that we ask. and the quality of those questions. Your consultants are judged by the quality of the questions that they ask every single day. And if we ask pants questions, we're going to end up with pants information, and that's what the client and candidates are actually going to judge us on. So I can't stress to you enough, it's like, for me, this is 101 recruitment. You know, get this bit right, and it's amazing how many more deals that would have gone south actually end up on track. The other thing that I get asked as well a lot, and I'll try and deal with these on the Q&A. So remember, any Q&As that any questions that you've got, just type them up. I won't deal with them until I get to the Q&A section at the end, but only because I'm terrible. I get distracted. I know you guys try and do it on purpose as well. So I'm not even going to look at the chat section whilst we're going through this. But one of the biggest questions I get asked is, Roy, something, clients don't allow me the time. They'll say something like, I know, Si, they'll say to you, Si, you know us, Paul, you know us, Adrian, you know us, you know the type of thing that we're looking for. Why so many questions? Or, this is a position you've recruited for in the past for us. It's like, you don't need to know all this information. My response to that, and my response to you if you tell me that, is every single job role that you work on is unique. I don't care if you've placed it 50 times in the past. I don't care if you've placed it 50 times in the past with that client. Every single opening is unique. The job description is the same, but the circumstances that created that particular job, that opening, are unique at that particular time. And it may just be, that assumption that, oh, I've recruited this 50 times in the past, I know what I'm looking for. That assumption leads to the deal going down. And the other thing is, look, we're living in a really competitive world. And I read something today, actually. Yeah, I read something today which I thought was really, really quite profound. It said, your future clients are your current clients. And I'm like, yeah, actually, that's true, isn't it? This isn't about, let's go out and find loads and loads and loads and loads of new. It's a lot easier to sell to work with, to build a relationship with somebody that's already bought from you. So, this is about us getting this essential bit right. And you know what? If you can get the foundation bit right, then it's amazing how much more forgiving the process is for you. I talk about my, 39 steps or the 12-step process, whatever it is. I talk about these steps, but they all start with number one: take a complete job brief. And I say, even to rookies, if you take a quality brief, then we want you to do the remaining steps to the best of your ability and highly professional. But if you take that first brief and you take it complete and full, and use quality questions, then the rest of the process is relatively forgiving. So look, without much ado, let me. I'm just going to have a quick look at that chat thing just to see the Welsh. Okay, thank you, Si. Brilliant. See, now I don't even know if you're joking or not. So anyway, listen, I'm going to start to share my screen with you. I want to take you through characteristics. So again, rather than you seeing my face all the time, let me see if I can get this up for you. So bear with me a second. Good. Okay. So I am going to assume that you have got on your screen right now a bullet point that just says number one: complete specs and need. I don't know why, but I don't trust it. I don't know why. Let me go and have a look. Yes. Okay. Good. So I know that you've got that. Let's have a look. So I'm going to just run through this. It's like complete specs or need. Okay, so these are the characteristics of an absolutely brilliant job brief. If you are recruiting by yourself, solo recruiter, building your business, these are the things. When you've finished a brief, you need to use this as a checklist against every brief that you use. And if you haven't got ticks in all these boxes, you haven't really got a quality brief. I'm not telling you don't work it, but recognize the limitations of that. Okay, when that deal goes down, as they invariably do when they're not complete briefs, quality briefs, I don't want us to be on a phone call together, and and of course, I'll always support you, but I don't want to be on that phone call with you when we start looking through these things and you go, oh, you know what, Roy, I didn't have all of these things. I didn't, I had warning flags because the client was rushing me, or the client didn't want to give me the time on the phone, or all of those things. I promise you, if you can get ticks in all of the boxes that I'm about to give you, you've got a good quality brief. It's one that you should focus attention on and put some time into. For the people that are managing recruiters, this again is your checklist, all right? So when they turn around and say, Graham, one of your guys says, hey, Graham, I just picked up this really, really good brief from a client. I'm really excited. I don't want you to rain on their parade, but what I do want you to do is just go through using this type of checklist to qualify whether it is a good brief, whether we should be putting all of our time and resources into working it, or whether what we should do is spend more time trying to find alternative briefs that have got all of these ticks in the boxes, if that makes any sense. So look, what do I mean by complete job specs and needs? So the complete job specs is that basically you or your consultants have a complete understanding of the job. Okay, so it's of the job. It's what does this job do? What are the duties? What are the responsibilities? What does an average day look like? What does an average week look like? What does an average month look like? And these are really, really important for you to understand, because the days when, I don't know, we would have taken a job brief back in the day, and I was taking job briefs, you guys know, some of the early ones for machinists or pattern cutters or whatever. I came from the fashion industry, but I didn't know what a machinist did on a day-to-day basis. I now know. I didn't know what a pattern cutter did. I know what a pattern was. I just assumed it's just cutting out. But in order for me to truly, truly be able to work that, to be able to talk to a candidate with authority, the candidate needs to be able to ask you questions and see you as an authority, or your consultants as an authority, on every job that you talk about. So complete job specs, yeah, complete job specs. Now again, I'm going to throw in an insight here. Often I'll talk to a decision maker about a job that he or she has never done, or has done so far in the past they can't remember what that job was like. Okay, so be really, really careful. And again, HR, I'm not knocking them. I just couldn't eat a full one today, but human resources, they'll say to you, oh, here's the job brief, but I'm talking about an in-depth understanding of the actual job. And it's very, very rare, extremely rare, rarer than rocking horse poo, have I ever found a HR manager or officer or whatever they're called that can give me that complete overview, that complete understanding of a job. And the final one, some of you as recruitment business owners, I know, so most of you do recruit yourselves. I know other recruitment business owners that used to recruit. I've used this example before. Used to recruit years ago, and when I talk to them, I say to them, well, what do you think your recruiters do on a day-to-day basis? It was so long ago that they did it that actually they struggle. They don't have a complete understanding of what it is. Now look, the second half of that number one is the need. And for me, this is really, really, really important. In fact, asterisk this in your notes or whatever. The need is one of the most important things. There are two. The MITs, the most important things. The need is what problem has the client got? What problem has the client got? Why does he or she need to recruit this position? What's not getting done in their department, in that role, in that company right now as a result of this position being open? What's the fear? What's the implication if it remains open? Now this is so, so important, and in fact all of you owners, any of your consultants bring a brief to you today and say, oh, I just won this brief, ask them, what problem is your client experiencing? Because if the client doesn't have a problem, guess what? They're not ready to buy a solution. So beware of clients that say to you, oh, you know what, we don't really need anything, there's not a problem, but it'd be great for us to recruit one of those. That's not something that I would drop everything for in order to work on. If I found a CV, I'd submit it. If I found a CV, if I stumbled on a CV, but I wouldn't commit time, effort, resources into something where the client says, well, we're always recruiting that type of person. We don't really have a need, but we'd find, that's a speculative. There's nothing wrong with speculative, but be very, very careful if you are committing time and resources. Okay, let's move on. Complete compensation package. Try saying that with these teeth. Complete compensation package. Now, I know you know how to take a brief, all right? What I'm trying to do here is, I suppose, just look at tips or technique or whatever that you can help your recruiters with. Some of you that are recruiting on your own, maybe it's a refresher. Maybe it's a refresher for you in terms of looking at the compensation question. Okay. Compensation is not just the basic salary, okay? It's not just the basic salary. It's every single pound, shilling, and pence version of that client's package. And I don't want you just to take what the client tells you, all right? So, it's paying a 25k base, and there's a bonus in there, and usual bells and whistles. That's the normal, so it's a usual package, There is no such thing as a usual package when you take a job brief. You don't want to be saying bells and whistles. What you want to do is go through a fine-tooth comb and get every pound, shilling, and pence version of that package. Adrian and Thomas, I don't know what the equivalent of pound, shilling, pence would be for you guys, but you know what I mean. I want the package broken down to the 9th degree. I want to know, are there luncheon vouchers? Are there dry cleaning concessions? Is there a health club? Is there a parking space? Is there subsidized canteens? And if there aren't those things, that's fine. But I want to know every single ounce of that package that I can get, so that I can use that package to maybe influence a candidate. Don't ever accept the first salary that the client gives you. Ask them the question, ideally, what do you want to pay? So they're going to give you a figure, ideally, what do you want to pay? And they're going to go, ideally, you want to pay 25 to 28. Okay, what's the minimum that you would expect to pay for somebody for the skills that you've just talked about, the complete specs? What's the minimum you'd expect to pay for somebody? So get that minimum figure, then hit them with the maximum. So what's the maximum figure that you're prepared to go to? What's the maximum that you would expect to pay for somebody with these skills? And write that down. Now, are we happy with just those answers, that low, mid, and high range? No, I want you to test it. Test it even further. So how much higher could you go, Mr. Client, for somebody that has got all of the skills that you're looking for, is currently working at one of your competitors, doing the same job, doing it successfully, but she's earning, and insert the top figure that he or she has given you already. So insert the top salary figure, or the highest, the maximum figure that the client's told you. So in this instance, the client's told you, I don't know, 37k. So, how much higher could you go, Mr. Client, for somebody who's currently working at one of your competitors, doing the same job, being very successful, but she's already earning 37? You're pushing. And the reason for this is, I want you and your recruiters to get the maximum package that you can, so that when you go out to market, your search universe is as wide as possible. Your search universe is wider than the rubbish consultant, your competitor, who's just asked the client, well, what's the package, and written it down. You have got to train your guys to flex the spec, right? To really squeeze every single last bit out of it. There's another type of close, actually, the one that I just said to you, how much higher could you go? There's another type of close that you could use called the takeaway close. So client gives you a maximum of 37, you go back to them and say, look, if I found you somebody who was doing the same job successfully for one of your competitors, but she was earning 38, would you not want to see her? And the reason it's called the takeaway close is not because it's a, I don't know, an Indian or a Chinese takeaway, or even a Mongolian takeaway. The reason we call it the takeaway close is you're dangling the prospect of a really, really great client. You're dangling this at them, and what they're able to do is they're able to say, so sorry, I just messed up there, didn't I? Hopefully you're back on my screen. Hold on a second, just want to make sure. Yeah, good. Yeah, you're dangling the prospect of a competitor, a candidate coming from the competitor, someone that's really successful, someone that's an achiever, but she's in the maximum. It's like, do you want them or don't you? You know, you're dangling it and saying, what do you want me to do with this? Now, if they say, no, it's way over our price thing, fine, you've now hit the ceiling. But if they turn around and say to you, oh, actually, if they're that good, of course we would stretch it. Of course we would stretch it. Now, professionals, and you know, you guys are masterminds. I'm giving you the cream. Okay, so most training would just end there. Okay, most training would end there. What I want to do is give you the added, and the added in this instance is, even if a client or the person, the line manager, the decision maker that you're talking to at that stage says, yeah, you know, of course we can stretch it, I want you to ask this question. It's the mastermind question. Okay, so if you went to 38 or 39, apart from yourself, who else would need to sign off that increase in salary? Apart from yourself, who else would need to authorize that? Now that's the mastermind question. The rookies out there, your competitors, the jubs, the numpties, the whatever you want to call them, the numpties just go, what's the salary? Yeah. The good ones out there will try and stretch and get a range, but the absolute superstars, the masterminds that you guys are not only asking, can you go higher? What they're saying is, look, if I found you somebody that's doing this, how much higher could you go? If she was currently paying this, you know, what could you pay her to attract her? Once you've got that figure, you're not accepting that. You're saying, okay, who else apart from yourself would need to sign that off? That apart from yourself is actually a really, really powerful tool as well. It's not saying, okay, you know, are you the decision maker? Because that would be an insult to a decision maker. It's stroking their ego enough, but it's also saying, look, you know, there may be somebody else that needs to be involved in this decision. Who else is it, and do we need to get sign off on that now? Okay, so you guys know, complete compensation package. Let's have a look at the next one. A good ratio of pounds to specs. My dear late grandmother used to talk about people that wanted champagne for lemonade prices. I don't know if that will have any resonance with you guys, but a good ratio of pounds to specs. So the characteristic of a great job brief, number 3, good ratio of pounds to specs. What that means is that the client is paying above average, okay, for what it is that they want. They're not saying to you, you know, Adrienne, look, we want somebody to do this and this and this, and the responsibilities are this and this and this, and we want someone that's got this and this and this, and we're only going to pay them this. You know, they're saying there's a good ratio of pounds to specs. It's a good package. Now, you guys, as senior, experienced recruiters, you'll often know that, all right? So you'll know what the client's competitors will pay for that type of position, and you can front it almost immediately. You know, if it's not paying enough, you'll tell them this is below average. What do you want to do? You know, do you want to raise the money, or do you want to lower the specs, the job specifications, the people spec? What do you want to do? Now, a rookie, or if one of you is maybe breaking into a brand new marketplace, you may not know whether this salary is good, bad, or indifferent. And if that's the case, if you're, you know, if it is one of your rookies, or if it's you breaking into a brand new space, then I'd say to you, just take the salary, and as soon as you start sourcing for that, you're going to learn. So maybe 2 or 3 calls into sourcing, you're going to find out from candidates that the salary is too low for what it is they're looking for. Your 4th call, your rookie's 4th call, is back to the client. This is what I found. This is the response that I've had. What do you want me to do? I do not want you flogging a dead horse. You don't have to keep, you know, battering your head against a brick wall if the salary is too low. Your 4th call is to your client. Okay, so good ratio of pounds to specs. Number 4, and you know, this is as much for you guys or for the consultants that you got working for you. Fee cleared. Fee cleared, full fee and sign off. Okay, I don't know what happened in the recruitment process that we forgot this as an industry. Fee cleared, full fee, and the fee is signed off. Now, what I mean, fee cleared. I know as a as a young recruiter back in those days when I was young, I know as a young recruiter, I was so happy to have a client on the phone giving me a brief, answering my questions. I couldn't wait to get off the phone. I did everything I could to avoid talking about how much we were going to charge them. Because in my young head, I used to think, oh God, the moment I mention my fee, they're going to turn around and go, oh, that's too expensive. I don't want that hassle. So let's just avoid it. It was the elephant in the room. Let's just avoid it, avoid it, avoid it, avoid it. Anyway, Mr. Client, thank you very much. I will get some CVs across to you. Anyway, bye. Put the phone down. I wasn't clearing any fee. Now, you and I know where that led to. Sometimes I'd make placements, not a problem, and I'd get paid. Most times on those ones where I hadn't cleared the fee, I'd get to placement. The client was almost playing the same game with me. It's like, well, you haven't mentioned the money. I haven't mentioned the money. Let's just keep going. They'd get right down to where I'd offered the where they wanted to make an offer to the candidate. And their next question to me would be, how much are you going to charge us? I go, okay, well, based on a XYZ salary, our fee at that percentage on the sliding scale would be X. And that's when we would start the negotiation. And you're in a actually, now with my old head, I know that I'm in a strong position because I've got a great candidate they want to offer to. But in my young head, and in your rookie's head, it was a weak position. Like, oh my God, I don't want to lose the deal. Yeah, even as a business owner, you're thinking, God, we need this deal, we need this deal. So you feel like you're in a weaker position. It's a wrong time to start negotiating. Fee cleared. Now, what I mean by that is I want you and your consultants quoting your percentage, and actually, I want you going one stage further. I want you telling them what the pound what the pound value of that placement will be on an average salary. Okay, I did see actually. Adrian came back to me with the what it is. It's a Turgrik. Okay, so guys, we've learned some things today. It's a Turgrik. Okay, so that's the pound, shilling, and pence. In Mongolia, you talk in terms of Turgriks. I am going to try and remember that. Thomas and Adrian. Okay, so fee cleared, and so what I mean by that is tell them the percentage. If it's 15, 18, 20%, tell them the percentage. But I don't know about you, percentages are really meaningless. And again, one of the reasons why I see fee trying to be negotiated by the client right at the end is they'll hear 20%, 15%, 18%, and it's just numbers, right? If you really want to do this job properly, tell them the fee is 20%. Based on the average salary that you've given me, so based on not the lowest, not the highest, but the average, the median salary, the median salary, tell them based on that salary at 20%, the amount of that invoice will be X. Obviously, Mr. Client, we will adjust it upwards or downwards depending on the final salary that's offered, but that's what you should be budgeting for. Now, I don't know about you, I would rather have a conversation, a negotiation at that point, if I have to, if it's about justifying our services or our fees or whatever, I'd rather have that conversation at that point before you and I and all of our staff have spent 6 to 8 weeks putting time, effort, money and resources into filling something. And then have the client come back to you at offer stage and go, well, unless you drop your fee to 15%, we're not going forward. All right. So now, look, here's the deal. If you and your rookies do what I've asked you to do, if you clear that fee at the very beginning, and the client says to you, yeah, okay, no, that's fine, that's good. But then the client tries to negotiate at offer stage, then you are perfectly within your right to punch them on the nose, okay? And you can tell them, that's Roy Ripper gave me permission to do that. I obviously don't want you punching them because, you know, I don't know about your public liability insurance and all those things, so don't punch them. But what I'm saying is that if the client tries to negotiate at that stage, if you've done the job in the beginning, hold your head up high and say, we've already discussed this. But if you haven't, or your consultant hasn't cleared that fee at the beginning and the client tries to negotiate, then you know, hold your hands up, wave the white flag, because actually you deserve the client doing this to you. And I hate to be mean, but I almost want to give you a dose of reality. If we haven't cleared that fee, then almost you have set yourself up to drop your fee at this stage. Okay. Second part of that, full fee. I want you guys quoting full fee. I want you quoting full fee. And now is the time to start talking about full fee. Over the last 5 years, you may have taken a battering, but you don't need to do that anymore. Quote your full fee. Now, this isn't a negotiation course. If you're interested, I might do that on another thing, Negotiation 101. Key tactics, remember, mastermind tactics. I'm going to give you that stuff straight away. Full fee. Don't ever write this down, right? Don't ever write this down. Write this down. Don't ever allow yourself or your consultants to touch the percentage. Don't ever allow you or your consultants to touch the percentage that you charge. If you're going to make any concession at all, I want you taking it or offering it as a pound discount, a euro discount, a Turgric discount off of the final invoice. Okay? You don't ever touch those terms and conditions of business. Because the problem that I have with you touching those terms and altering the terms and conditions of business is that the client then gets into that mentality. It's like, oh, well, you know, if I put enough pressure on you, you're going to touch that percentage. The other thing is percentages. When you start talking about the difference between 20% and 18%, 20% and 17.5%, it doesn't sound like much. But when you equate that to a pound figure, the client might be asking you for, look, I want £200 off this, right? When you say, okay, well, look, let's agree it. Happy to do that on this one as a concession or whatever, and I've got some views on that as well. But after some negotiation, you concede, telling them they're going to get £200, £500, £700 sounds a lot more, and actually is a lot more than just saying, right, we've knocked off 1.5% off of our fee or 0.5% off our fee. Pounds, okay, but only off of the invoice value. We don't touch that T's and C's. If you want any further information on that, then queue them up at the Q&A. The final bit here is sign off, and it's almost like that bit I said. If the client talks about higher salaries or whatever, you need to make sure that this recruitment process is signed off. The fees are agreed. Okay, the instruction to you to go ahead and recruit is signed off by every authority that needs to be included in this decision. So the questions, you can't ask a client or me, are you the decision maker? That's a bit of an insult. That's going to feel like a slap. And if I am the decision maker, I'm kind of a little bit annoyed that you've asked it. But another way to ask it is the one I gave you slightly earlier, which is, apart from you, Thomas, is there anybody else, or who else will be involved in the decision or needs to be involved in the decision to sign off this recruitment process? Who else apart from yourself? The apart from yourself is a bit of a stroke. The who else is really gathering it. Now that allows a minion, somebody that, you know, maybe it's a HR officer or maybe it's a line manager that needs to get the HR director to sign it off or sales director to sign off. It allows the minion, the cog in the wheel, to not feel like a minion, all right? Not to feel like a cog in the wheel. It's saying that you're important, I get that, but apart from yourself, who else is important? Who else would need to agree this? Okay. Characteristic number 5, and I will try, I'm trying to give as much value as possible, but also I'm conscious of your time as well, so I want to give you guys some Q&A bit at the end. So number 5, roadmap, really simple. You need to have a really clear roadmap of where the candidate, this candidate that the client wants, where they currently work. You know, where are they? Who are they working for? What department are they working in? And questions to ask your client or your consultants to be asking are, who are your competitors? Don't assume, because we are niche specialists, that the ones that you think are going to be the ones that the client perceives to be competitors. Ask them questions like, who do you come up against in terms of competitive pitches? Who do you respect in the industry? Who have you recruited in the past, and where have they come from? And when successful people come, you know, where have they come from, and why do you think that transition from company X to your company's been good. Really get under the skin of your client, because they'll tell you if you ask the right questions. But if you play the I'm an experienced recruiter, I don't need to ask any questions, you'll end up with that information. It's like zero. You'll end up with your assumptions, and assumptions aren't going to get this thing placed, all right? So roadmap. Other questions that I like to ask them as well. Who have you interviewed in the last 6 months for this position? Who have you interviewed for the last 6 months in this position? What else would I be asking them? I would ask them, who have you considered internally for this position? And on both of those, why have you not taken it forward, or why did you reject those people? So it's really important you say, who have you interviewed in the last 6 months for this position? Why are we asking that? Well, we're going to try and get some, are there any other candidates that we're not speaking to that could be good for our other clients? But equally, you don't want you or your consultants to duplicate work, replicate work. I don't want to put forward candidates that they saw 3 or 4 months ago, because then you get that bugger that comes up. The client will say, oh, well, no, thanks for presenting them. We already interviewed them, and actually, yeah, they're pretty good. Maybe we'll offer them the job. And then you're getting into that whole trying to negotiate. Well, we introduced them, and the client saying, well, we saw them before you introduced them. They don't thank you for that. So check, say, to make sure that we're not duplicating on your effort, who have you interviewed in the past and why did you reject them? Make that assumption, because if they didn't reject them, then they wouldn't be speaking to you. All right, they'd have filled the job. So why did you reject them? Get those reasons, because those, again, are going to help you build an absolutely brilliant brief. Number 6. If before I told you number 1, the need, the client's problem was the MIT. This is the second MIT, the most important thing. Opportunity is everything. All right, opportunity is everything. They've got to have a problem, because otherwise they don't buy, the client. But they've also got to have an opportunity for the candidate. Why should a candidate working for the client's competitor, doing the job, doing it very well, why should they stop, resign, and come and work for your client? And if your client can't answer that question, you need to get it. You need to dig deep. Because if the client says, well, we're a dead-end company, there's nothing else going on here, what's the opportunity? Well, we'll pay them. That's not much of an opportunity. It actually is, but we call it a dead-end opportunity. There are candidates for dead-end opportunities, by the way. Do you know what we call those? Slugs. So, you're looking for information because the candidate's going to spend, the next 18 months to 3 years, 10 years, whatever, of his or her working life at this company that you're going to introduce them to. They don't want to just come and work for it because you've said they're a great client. The candidate has got in their mind, tattooed across the top of their head, what's in it for me? Where does this lead to? What's the next position for me? And I want you to get that information, okay? I really do. I need you to get it. So opportunity takes many different forms. It's like, I don't know, chance to grow. Maybe it's a chance to learn new skills. Maybe it's a chance to work with a brilliant team. Maybe this is an award-winning company. Maybe we'll give them a sabbatical. Maybe they're into, I don't know, individual development plans. So many different things. Maybe we're going to flotation in a couple of years. Maybe this is a position that could lead to a managerial or a director role, or maybe there's a share option with it. I don't know what it is, but you need to know what it is, okay? So get right under the skin. And beware when clients will say to you, well, look, this is what we want, all right? Now, clients can give you till they're blue in the face what they want. What you have to do is you're batting for the candidate with this question. You need to really go after your client and say to them, yeah, that's great, thank you, but why should a candidate join you? Oh, we've got great pension. It's like, that's not what that's going to attract them. It's like, what would the candidate get to do? Where could this position lead to in 1, 3, and 5 years? That's a beautiful question. Where could this position lead to in 1, 3, and 5 years? Like I said, every job is not going to be sexy. I understand that, right? Every opportunity where you're going to ask clients and they go, actually, you know what, Roy? It's not much of an opportunity. I asked a client this question once. It was a finance position. The client said to me, you know what, Roy, this is a chance for someone to sit at the same desk, do the same work, work with the same clients, probably for the rest of their lives, in fact. Now that's still an opportunity, believe it or not. It's still an opportunity, because I know candidates that would love that. They want the stability, they want the certainty, they want the consistency of knowing I'm going to sit at the same desk, talk to the same client, do the same work for the next 15 years. That is an opportunity for somebody. You just need to understand what the opportunity is, and then we'll match it to the candidate. Company information, I'm not going to teach you guys to suck eggs. You know, it's going after them with the usual suspects. It's like, you know, established and share price, and tell me some headlines or highlights about the company. This might be stuff that you've read on the website, but ask them, you know, is there any other stuff? What awards are you guys going for? What else do I look for? Growth information. Okay, growth information. Have I got that up there? No. Growth information. How has the company grown since they've started? I'm also looking for the decision maker's bio. So I'd like to know, how is this decision maker? Where did they come from? Have they grown up through this business? Were they a competitor business and then they've joined? Have they progressed since they joined the company? The DM bio is really, really important selling information to the candidates that you speak to. Okay, number 7, interviewing information. And the interviewing information is really, really, I mean, all of these are really, really important. But this is going to make the selection process far more efficient, and it's going to save you and your client wasted time with unqualified candidates. You need to tie down with them sorry, that was the recruiting information. Let's have a look. The interviewing information. The interviewing information is find out how many interviews over what time period, who does the first, who does the second, who makes the final decision, who else apart from yourself is involved in that decision. Remember that question? But you need to, again, really, really understand what is their process. How soon after the final interview is an offer made? Who is responsible for creating that offer? Who's responsible for getting the paperwork together? Who sends out the contract? Find out that information, because the more you know, the more you can influence, the more you can control. If you're not asking, if your consultants aren't asking these questions, they're not controlling the deals, they are passengers on those deals. Okay, remember that. If they're not controlling the deal, they're a passenger on that deal. And you know, if you take that analogy further, they're a passenger on a bus that's going where the client or the candidate dictates the journey, not where the recruiter or you is dictating that journey. Now, you know, who's the expert here? It's like clients believe they're the experts, candidates will often believe that they know more than us. But you're the expert. Your consultants are the experts. Even your rookie sitting in the corner is the expert in terms of the recruitment process. Because we've seen more deals being made, more deals being lost, more placements being made, more counter-offers, more stuff going right and wrong than any one of those two other parties. Yeah? Even your HR managers go, well, you know, I know a lot about recruitment. I've worked in HR for 25 years. Baloney, all right? The HR manager, and I'm not being disrespectful, but, you know, recruitment forms less than, I don't know, 2-5% of their job. They do lots of other things, I'm sure. I'm being facetious, but they do lots of other things. It's about employee, I don't know, welfare and retention and all these other, you know, legislation and all of those things. Your job is recruitment. It's 100% recruitment. And I don't care whether you've been doing it 5 years, 50 years, or 5 weeks, or even 5 days. Your rookie with 5 days experience has got more recruitment experience than most line managers will have in a year or 2 years. So we have an accelerated learning kind of, you know, capacity for recruitment. Anyway, get me off the soapbox. Number 8, sorry, urgency. Urgency, and critical, all right? You're looking for critical positions. So the bigger the need, remember that number 1, bigger the need, bigger the problem, the more urgent this is going to be, the more critical it is. And ask your client, you know, this sounds like a critical position. This sounds like an urgent position. Am I right? Yes. You know, you're looking for that. Now, here's a great little sequence for you. If you've heard it from me, apologize, but if you haven't heard it from me, this is one that you can use. It's the masterminds question. If you ask every client, right, how urgent is this position, what answers are you hearing? Yeah, exactly. They're saying to you, yeah, it's very urgent, Roy. Don't they also say to you, how soon do you want this person? They'll go, yesterday. If I had a pound or a turgric for every single time I've heard that response, how soon do you want this candidate, Mr. Client? Yesterday. If I had a pound or turgric for every single time I've heard that response, I would be a very, very rich person, right? You guys would be a very rich person. But I still want you to ask that question. I want you to ask them, how urgent is this position? And they're going to go very. Now comes the mastermind bit, right? And please write this down, take notes. This is really, really key stuff. It's hot stuff. How urgent is the position? Very. Okay, here it comes. Is it urgent enough, Paul? Is it urgent enough for me to drop everything for the next 3 days and 3 nights and focus exclusively on your position, on sourcing for your position? I'll run it past you again. Paul, is it urgent enough for me and my team, or for me to commit, every resource in our agency to filling this position? Is it urgent enough for me to commit for the next 3 days and 3 nights to fill this position? Now, that's quite a powerful statement. I'm saying to the client, is it urgent enough for me to drop everything and just give it all to you? Is it, and the 3 days and 3 nights is actually quite important. Insert your own time scale. I know you contract recruiters, you'll be like, is it urgent enough for me to drop everything in the next hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes? Temp recruiters, is it urgent enough for me to drop everything in the next minute to focus on sourcing? So I know that for everyone it's a different time scale. I'm thinking here, generic perm, I would be saying to the client 3 days and 3 nights. Is it urgent enough for me and my team to drop everything and commit those resources for 3 days and 3 nights? Yes. Now, even if the client is pulling your chain, they'll still say, yeah, it was really urgent. Yeah, please just commit everything to it. But the next bit is the masterminds on steroids, okay? The next question you ask, the next statement that you ask is absolute gold. Again, write this down. And that's brilliant, Mr. Client. So I know if it's that urgent, if it's that critical, I know that you'll be happy to set aside time to interview my candidates next week. Okay, I'm going to run it past you again. So we've gone, is this urgent position? Yeah, definitely urgent. Okay. Is it urgent enough for me to drop everything for the next 3 days and 3 nights? Yeah, no, definitely. Okay. I know if it's that critical for you, Mr. Client, you'll be happy to set aside time to interview the candidates next week. What days are good for you? What times during those days are good for you? I want you and your recruiters getting pre-booked interview slots for the candidates that you're going to find. Now, at this stage, there will be clients that have just, they've just been messing around. Okay, I was going to kind of swear, but I'm not going to. So, there'll be clients that will be messing around. At this point, a panic will set in for them. They'll go, oh no, why don't you just submit the candidates to me and then we'll find the time to do them. That's a warning sign for you, all right? It's a red flag for you. If you can get your consultants to try and use that close every time, and they're going to come back and go, do you know what, Graham, I tried that close, and the client was going, well, find me the candidates first and then we'll find interview times. That is not a committed or a convinced client. All right, so it's not that they haven't got commitment, but they've not been convinced by your consultant that they're good enough to do the job. So that's a really good indicator, I think, of commitment. It's like, how much is your client bought into your process? Because if they are into you, if they believe you, if they see you as the right, person to partner with, they'll give you time slots. Trust me, they will give you time slots. So ask those questions, they're good. Urgency. Now, any of you guys that are temp or contract recruiters, I don't need to, restate urgency. For the people out there that have only ever worked perm recruitment, find a temp or contract recruiter working in your office or working outside your office and make friends with them. Ask them if you can come and sit with them for an hour. Okay, so if they work in another agency, obviously clear it with the boss, but just ask, can I come and sit with you for an hour? If they work in your own agency, go and sit with them for an hour. At the end of that hour, you'll understand the term urgency if you don't know it at this stage, okay? So, 9, the hiring process takes a specific amount of time. Now, what do I mean by that? I like clients that that have deadlines. That's it. I like clients who give me deadlines. They'll say to me, Roy, we need somebody by the 1st of 2 months' time, or we need somebody by the beginning of August, or we need somebody by this date because Sue's leaving for maternity leave, or we need somebody by. So when they give me a deadline date, I love that. Now I know some recruiters go, oh no, I don't like it because it puts pressure on us. That's good pressure, because it's not your pressure, it's your client's pressure. They need to make a decision. And I like it when a hiring process takes a specific amount of time. I don't like it when the client says, yeah, well, we'll recruit when a good one comes along. That's not someone in an awful hurry. Again, referring you back to point number 1, which is their problem's not big enough. So you need to really, really uncover a problem and, pick that scab, I think is the expression, pick it, right. Number 10, the candidate has to exist. I know this sounds like one of those Roy bleeding obvious statements to make, but sometimes clients have unreasonable expectations. They'll say, well, I want somebody to do this, this, and this, and I want somebody to do that, that, and that. I want somebody to, salute me as I come through the office doors. I want somebody to, work late every night and weekends, and I only want to pay them tuppence halfpenny. Or something, it might not even be that bad. I've had technical positions before where a client said, look, I need somebody to do this, this, and this. Position's based up in Aberdeen. And it's like, look, when I've done my research, there are only 3 people in the country that can do that job. And all 3 of them are employed and they're being paid more. So you need to get that sanity check. The candidate does need to exist. So characteristic of a great job brief is it's not a rocking horse poo candidate, all right? It's not a hen's teeth candidate. Number 11, we're coming up to the penultimate one here, a cooperative client. Now I know all of you go, yeah, please, Roy, we would love cooperative clients. What I'm asking for here is just a client who respects us. There's a mutual respect going on. It's not someone that's dismissive. Yeah, oh, recruiters, 2 a penny, you're rubbish, blah, blah, blah. Characteristic of a great brief is someone who really respects you or your consultants or your company as a partner. And a cooperative client is, somebody that really kind of just allows you that time. It's like, look, and trusts you and trusts your advice. Now, I know it almost sounds like the utopia, the Shangri-La, we'll never achieve it. But when you find a cooperative client, when you find somebody that respects you as a professional, that you're the expert when it comes to recruitment, they're the expert at doing the job that they do, but you're the expert in terms of recruitment. This is what we do for a living. When you get a client that totally understands that, that's a quality brief that you're working. Okay, I can go in more about this one, but let me give you number 12. Decision maker contact. All right, so not decision make contact, decision maker contact. And actually, it should say decision makers contact. All right, plural. I want a characteristic of a great job brief, and I can hear you all saying it out there. It's like, well, some of my consultants get briefs from HR. I'm not telling you don't work it. I'm not telling you won't make placements. But the characteristic of a great job brief is when you've got the decision maker, the hiring authority, when you've got direct contact with that person, those persons. Because if you've just got contact with one decision maker and there are 2 or 3 or more than one involved in the decision to recruit, you're doing it with one hand tied behind your back. You've got to have contact with everyone involved in the process. That's quality. Okay, that is quality. Okay. Okay, so look, I know we're into the final 5 minutes. I know that actually I'm looking here and I'm not seeing any questions. Let me go back to me on screen. Okay, good. So you guys can see me. I am going to open it up for Q&A, but look, I know we're tight on time, so if you haven't got any questions, that's fine. Remember, what I'm going to do is post this. You'll get a link to a replay, but I'm also going to post it up in the forum or the members area, and I'll create a little discussion around it. Job briefs, what are the things your consultants are telling you? What problems are you experiencing? If you've got any questions and you haven't been able to ask them on here, then definitely get them on there. Look, summary, you've got a blueprint for success. All right, you've got a blueprint for success. If you take job briefs and you are using those 12 pressure points, those 12 points of control with every single job that you work on, I'm not telling you to have ticks in all 12 boxes, but what you will have is a very realistic grip on your business. You'll be able to forecast fairly accurately whether a placement is going to happen or not. When a consultant comes to you with a brief and you are checking through those 12 points and the consultant's coming up short in terms of ticks in those 12 boxes, you know, if it was me as an owner, I wouldn't be banking on that. I wouldn't be, if it comes in as a placement, brilliant, but there's a lot of luck involved in that one. And, you know, like you guys, I don't like building a business reliant on good or bad luck. I like stacking the odds in my favor. And getting a complete and full job brief with all of those 12 characteristics in, that's us stacking the odds in our favor. Okay, so look, I can't see any questions that have come up, and that's fine. I know we're all tight on time. Let's close the session off. If you do have any questions, by all means, I mean, you can email me. We can stick it up in the forum or whatever. We'll do that. What else can I say? Right, until I see you the next time, work hard on your recruitment business, not just in it. You know the drill. And make a difference. Make a real difference today. Okay, make a difference today in the life of a client, a candidate, or more importantly, a colleague. Do something. In fact, if I've got a little tip for you this week, find someone in your office, and if you're a solo recruiter, do it for yourself. Find someone in your office and notice something really, really good about their activity and their performance this week. And rather than tell them, do you know what I want you to do? I want you to send them something to their home. I want you to send them some little card, postcard or whatever, just saying, look, Si, you know what, I noticed you handle a client or a candidate situation really well this week, and I wanted to say congratulations. I really, really respect the way that you did that. Now, if you're a solo recruiter, I know this might sound a bit daft, but maybe just send yourself a card like that. But I want you to send it not to, if you're sending it to yourself or to the consultant, I don't want you to send it to the office, all right? I want you to send it to their home. I want it to be the surprise that lands on their doorstep on Saturday morning and that they get to open it because it's different to a bill, right? I want their family and friends to know about it. I want it to be something that they put up and people go, oh, what's that card? It's for my boss. How many people out there do you think get cards or letters or thank yous from their boss in the post sent to their home? I'll tell you, zero, right? None of them. So do that. It's going to make a massive difference. Don't overuse it, because if you kept doing it, it kind of loses the effectiveness. But look, anyway, I've talked too much. Great to work with you again today. Thanks ever so much, and I will see you real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.